AMS implementation projects can be so complex or expensive that associations often put them off longer than they need to. Our team at Cobalt has pulled off over 180 AMS implementations with minimum downtime since 1996. In the next couple of minutes, I'll outline what we see as the ideal AMS implementation process. As I talk briefly about project charters, decisions about data migration, collecting feedback from your team, and more, you'll notice one of Cobalt's core values at every stage: transparency. Because we're so committed to transparency, our new association and certification partners know they won't get burned again in these complex projects. That's just one of the things we cover in our initial AMS product showcase, by the way, which you can schedule using the link below. Okay, let's dive into Cobalt's take on the ideal AMS implementation process. The first milestone is creating a project charter. By the time we begin an AMS implementation, we've already done a reverse demo with our new partner to assess their current software processes and prove we really get the needs of their staff and members. A project charter aligns all key stakeholders of the project on what the success is for the AMS implementation, including the scope, specific objectives that we aim to achieve, risks, who the participants are, and what their roles are. In a project charter, try to answer important questions such as, why is this software going to make a difference to our staff and members? Why did we choose this vendor and this AMS system? Why did we pick these staff members for these roles in this project? The time you take to craft a solid project charter does a lot to pave the way for a pain-free AMS implementation. Data migration is the second milestone for this project. How much legacy data are you bringing into your new AMS system? Some teams want to bring it all. Some teams have such a mess with their current records, it's hard to know what to bring. Your vendor should be able to advise you here, because data migration can easily become the biggest driver for the complexity and the final price tag of this project. Cobalt's data migration process is completely transparent. There's a link to exactly how we navigate this with partners in the video description below. Everything from your data scope definition to data mapping and initial conversion, through updates and reviews to your data sign-off and go live, they all have to be reliable and secure. Asking about average AMS downtime during past implementations is a great question for AMS vendors in the selection process, by the way. The third milestone in our process is actually distributed throughout the entire process. I'm talking about structured, specific feedback from your team. Nobody wants to get blindsided by a project that's gotten sideways. As we're completing your tailored configuration or any custom development, it's an opportunity to make sure the criteria we've defined in your project charter is being completed. All 4 of the major implementation areas in our AMS projects are wrapped around timely and frequent task and budget updates. You'll always know where we stand regarding your project budget, timeline, and scope. Make sure your AMS vendor and implementation process defines exactly how and when you'll get updates and provide feedback during this project. Not just after your go live, that is much too late. This way, all stakeholders are in lockstep about the system we are building and its capabilities. The last milestone I'll mention is the initial training and support for your team. Have you been through an AMS implementation only to wind up with a system that was ultimately disappointing, underutilized, or both? We know how to mitigate both failures early in the AMS selection process, but our initial training and ongoing support do a lot to create significant buy-in from your staff. That's the only way to minimize change management costs for your organization. Your vendor should be able to provide a clear plan for your team's initial training. They should organize helpful, accessible reference materials and documentation at the end of that phase. But it's what happens next that often makes the difference in getting real value from your AMS investment or not. We know that there's no end to your end users' questions about how to leverage or configure the powerful tool in your AMS. That's why we include free how do I kinds of questions in our ongoing support agreement. It's also why we work so hard to keep our support team's response times fast and our customer satisfaction ratings high. An unresponsive or unhelpful vendor when you need support is beyond frustrating. The expectations for initial training and ongoing support are more great areas to address with vendors in the AMS selection phase. All of these are essential milestones, but we've got a lot more to share about pulling off the most efficient, secure, painless AMS implementation possible. I'd love it if you post a question or comment for me below, or use the links in our video description to learn more about Cobalt's membership management system. It also has built-in modules for certification needs. If we're a good fit for your team, we'd love to make your next AMS implementation pain-free and efficient. Thanks, and I hope to talk to you soon.